Super Bowl champions. That's always the expectation. So, yeah.
I think that's a realistic goal.
I think it is a realistic goal because we can win the Super Bowl. Why not? Why can't we win? Do you think it's unrealistic?
You think philosophy is a place to do that?
I think it is a place to do that, yes, sir.
Well, the goal is simple here in Oxnard, California. Tyler Smith, of course, with the perfect words. They want to win a Super Bowl, and they'll have to do it with, of course, a new staff, an entirely new staff, new additions as well. But this new staff has got this team with a new level of excitement. Welcome into Inside Cowboys Training Camp, presented by Ford. Nicole, Hutchison, and Mickey Spagnola here live from Oxnard. And we're going to get just straight to it, right? Just like Tyler Smith. Micah Parsons, of course, here in Oxnard. Like he'd mentioned before this offseason, he would be here. But, of course, we don't know if he will participate because his deal is not done just yet. But how soon do you feel like they can get this deal done, Mickey?
Well, I think that the one thing that we have to understand is Micah Parsons under contract, okay? So if he's not participating in training camp, they have the right to go ahead and fine him. Now, he is here. But I think there's this perception out there that if they don't hurry up and get this done, they're in big trouble. Well, the guy that's in big trouble is Micah Parsons because if he's not starting the season under his contract, which is 1 year guaranteed for $24 million, he's losing money. So everybody keeps asking Jerry about the urgency. And I've got here on my notes, Jerry said, I don't have that. So to me, that speaks volume of where the club is because they know he's under contract. And if he wants his money, then maybe he has to have some concessions to what he's asking for. And the one thing that I think is a misconception is no one knows what he's asking for, right?
Yeah.
What if he's asking for $50 million a year, right? And so I think that's the thing that's got to be settled. But again, the Cowboys certainly don't seem to be in a hurry to get him signed.
Yeah, and I think it's clear that both parties want to get this deal done. There's no doubt about that. Michael Parsons on the Undertaker's podcast and stating that, we obviously wanted to get it done early. Always ownership is going to make it drag out. So he had his thoughts on it. But, of course, Jerry Jones mentioning in the press conference that there's no concerns about it potentially getting done. But let's stick to this defensive line. What will determine the success of this defensive line?
Well, I think number one, and the thing that's bothered this Cowboy defense for several years is their inability to stop the run. So they've got to be better against the run. And this isn't just about rushing the quarterback. I know everybody looks at sacks all the time. Micah Parsons sacks, Dante Fowler sacks. Who the young guys are going to get sacks. But to me, you better stop the run because if you don't stop the run, you don't have the right to rush the quarterback. So that's, to me, the guys in the middle, Mozzie Smith, Toya, the rookie, Solomon Thomas, Marshawn Nealon. There's a bunch of guys there that have to come through for this defense to be good. Oso Digizua, obviously. So again, to me, stopping the run helps them be successful on the defensive line.
There's a lot of integral pieces and that will play a part in how successful this defense will be, and you've got to move to that cornerback room as well. When we come back, we've got more here on Inside Cowboys Training Camp. What will the cornerback look like, the room look like after the break?
Inside Cowboys Training Camp, presented by Ford, is brought to you by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. And by your North Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. This segment is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors, official sporting goods retailer of the Dallas Cowboys.
Welcome back into Inside Cowboys Training Camp, driven by Ford here in Oxnard. Nicole, Hutchison, Mickey Spagnola, and there's a lot of excitement. We've been using that word this entire offseason heading into training camp under head coach Brian Schottenheimer's first year as head coach, but there's specifically a lot of unknown as well, Mickey. I mean, you got to talk about this cornerback position, but first, we got to hear from Brian Schottenheimer on what things could look like at this cornerback room.
I mean, I can see where there's issues, but it gives you a chance to look at some of the younger players. I think, our objective to come out of these first 2 weeks, really, before we get into the joint practice against the Rams, is we want to see all these guys compete. We want to see who's developing, who took the things that we taught in the spring and who carried it over. The installation is going to be exactly the same. So OTA 1 is going to be training camp 1 tomorrow, and then day 2 and day 3. But so I think it's really not, you could look at it as, it's a negative for continuity. We'll get that figured out. But at the most part, we need to figure out and make the right evaluation of these guys to make sure that when it comes time to trim in the roster, that we're keeping the guys that we feel like fit our football team, not just based as a player, but as a person.
Well, Mickey, let me reiterate, there's no Trayvon Diggs. Of course, the newest rookie, Savone Rebel Jr. as well, is on the non-football injury list. So what could these things look like at the cornerback position?
Yeah, I think that the Cowboys have to kind of get through on who's going to be available. Chances are Trayvon Diggs is going to start on PUP. They've got to see where he's at with his rehab since he wasn't with the Cowboy trainers during the offseason. You mentioned Ravel. He's another guy that's coming off a torn ACL. Now, they've got a better idea of what he's going to be able to do. I would imagine that they'll take a look at him for about a week when they're doing these ramp-up practices with no pads and see if he's ready to go. There's another guy that people forget about, Josh Butler, who made an impression last year, and he's coming off a ACL. So you've got those guys. And then if you look at Kalen Carson, who ended up starting 5 games last year, he had shoulder surgery. So when's he going to be ready? I think they were being cautious with him during the offseason, so he may be ready. So there's a lot on Deron Bland's plate. He can play outside, he can play inside, but the key thing, I think, at this position is Kaiir Elam. He's a former first-round draft choice. He didn't play to that level with Buffalo. The Cowboys traded to him. He's had a good offseason, so if he can step up and say, I'm a top 3, top 4 corner on this team, I think that will make it a lot easier, more appealing that this quarterback position is not as in big trouble as we think because of the injuries.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, Kaiir Elam obviously looking to get a new fresh start here in Dallas. A lot of stamp of approvals from Brian Schottenheimer this offseason, but up next, I want to hear Mickey's stamp of approval here in Oxnard this week.
This segment was brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors, official sporting goods retailer of the Dallas Cowboys.
Back to wrap things up here on Inside Cowboys Training Camp, driven by Ford, Nicole Hutchison and Mickey Spagnola. And like I've mentioned before, I've got to get your stamp of approval here on this week. Who's your star to put your stamp on, Mickey, this week?
Well, I just think there's so many guys to keep an eye on here. We talked about the cornerback position, right? We got to sort out maybe the offensive line. Is Tyler Guyton ready to take over that left tackle position? They need him to step up. They need Mozzie Smith to step up, and then just get a better idea of what the draft choices look like, because they haven't been in pads. This whole thing will start on Sunday.
Yeah, well, the Cowboys have arrived. The vibes are really high as well. The party's just getting started here in Oxnard, California, but the real work begins on Tuesday. We'll be back here with more Inside Cowboys Training Camp tomorrow.
We've made a very competitive roster, and that's why, again, the importance of practice and the evaluation, and when we go through the drills, making sure we're getting guys paired up with the right guys for matchups and things like that. That's all part of the process.
Inside Cowboys Training Camp, presented by Ford, was brought to you by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. And by your North Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas.